Hey everyone, good morning and welcome to this episode of MC Commute starring Yamaha's 2025 YZF-R9 sport bike. Who's ready to go for a ride? All right everyone, there it is, Yamaha's 2025 YZF-R9 sport bike. This is an all-new motorcycle from Yamaha Motor out of Japan. This model slots in the YZF sport bike lineup. First we have the YZF-R3, the YZF-R7, now we have the YZF-R9, which is a mid-size plus sport bike, and then the top dog of them all, the YZF-R1 and YZF-R1M. This motorcycle is powered by Yamaha's tried and true 890cc CP3 engine, liquid-cooled dual-rate camshafts, 12-valve cylinder head. This engine is good for right around 109 horsepower. At the business end of that 180/55 series Bridgestone Batlax S22 tire. Louis, what do you guys think of this thing? This thing looks just awesome. It's got tasty YZF styling with these wings that actually have a little bit of downforce, says Yamaha. This is a really aesthetically pleasing bike. It looks like a full-fledged sport bike. It's not as wimpy looking as the YZF-R7, and it looks like it's ready to go, just standing still. It is a very, very tasty ride. Who's ready to swing a leg over this thing and see what it's like to ride in? Let's go. Right away, sitting on this vehicle, this motorcycle is pretty accommodating for street bike riders out there. The ergonomics package is not nearly as wimpy as the YZF-R7. That thing, while it looks like a sport bike, it didn't necessarily ride like an authentic sport bike. This thing does. The clip-on style handlebars are mounted relatively low. You'd be surprised how aggressive this ergonomics package is without it being too aggressive like the outgoing YZF-R6 and the YZF-R1. The seat, there's actually a lot of room to move around front and back on the seat. There's a lot of room. The padding on the seat is narrow, but in action, this seat is actually pretty comfortable. You can ride 4, 5, 6 hours, and you're really not in a lot of discomfort. So again, I think just having that platform where you can move around a lot, that's really nice. So good job, Yamaha. The foot pegs on this model, they're not too high, they're not too low. They're definitely set up for more sport riding, but I wouldn't say that they're just so unaccommodating for us street riders who like to log miles on the road. The fuel tank on this motorcycle, it's rather wide, which kind of looks cool. It makes it look like the YZF-R6 and the YZF-R1 does, but there's nice deep knee cutouts, so you can really squeeze the motorcycle with your legs, and that really adds control. Not so much when you're going 47 miles per hour on the road, but when you're riding in a more tactical environment where you're really going around corners and just racing around, having the ability to lock in your legs really gives you a lot more control, and then you don't have to hold on so much with your arms and hands. It's a really nice touch. I like this ergonomics package on this motorcycle, and this windscreen is nice and tall, so you can really tuck in. It's got a lot of room right here, which houses that color TFT, which we'll get to in a little bit. Now this vehicle is powered by an 890cc CP3 inline 3 engine, water-cooled dual-rate camshafts, the 12-valve cylinder head. This engine is good for right around 109 horsepower at the business end of that Bridgestone Batlax S22 rubber. The rubber on this motorcycle, it works really well. Real neutral handling profile, and it just does a good job for everyday riding and folks that want to get some in the corners. This engine is good for upwards of 60 pound-feet of torque, and that's really the signature feature of this powertrain configuration, is it just has a lot of immediate torque. You don't have to rev the thing to the moon like you did on a 600 inline 4 bike. It just has a lot of torque, comes off the corner, makes for a really easy riding motorcycle. Another plus is just how awesome this engine sounds. This thing is just so tasty sounding. Listen to that magnificent triple cylinder roar. This motorcycle has a really pleasing sound and character to it. Obviously it sounds almost identical to Triumph motorcycles inline 3 package, but really what sets this engine configuration apart from the Hinckley brands is just how little vibration this engine has. The vibration that this engine has, it in typical tuning fork spirit, it feels tuned to this application. So there's not a lot of bad vibes on this bike. Let's go, folks. Clutch action on this motorcycle. Clutch is nice and light.
If you are someone who doesn't have a lot of hand strength in your left hand, I think you're still going to be able to operate this clutch because it's got a real nice light pull. Yet its engagement's progressive. It doesn't feel as racy and well weighted as the YZF-R9, but it also doesn't feel wimpy, like it's just some like fake sport bike. So we really like that. Yes, folks, some corners. Let's let this big dog eat. Now this particular bike has an electronic quick shifter that allows for full throttle upshifts and downshifts without using the clutch. We really like quick shifters. It just makes riding so much fun. You can just upshift and grab gears without having to use the clutch. And conversely, when you're entering the corner, you can just downshift. Oh, I'm getting carried away out of my speed, folks. This engine configuration is just so fun to ride. I was getting carried away to the speed. Good thing we have cruise control. Let's enable cruise control. There's a button right here on the switch gear. You push this button. There's also a pit lane limiter. We're going to put it in cruise control mode, however, and then you just hit the set. And now we have cruise control enabled, 41 miles per hour, and nothing bad can happen. How cool is that, folks? The cruise control on this motorcycle is super accurate. It is facilitated by the ride-by-wire electronics, so really accurate cruise control. We also have a number of other great electronic gadgets, which we're going to talk about here in a second. We have this global mode button, which allows us to switch between modes. We have street, sport, custom, and a rain mode. But let's take a break real quick, folks, and just talk about how fun this ride is, because I'm having a blast.
All right, everyone, this YZF-R9 is just simply a blast to ride, and look how good this thing looks. This motorcycle looks as good standing still as it does out on the road. Really like that 890cc CP3 engine. Tons of character, tons of torque, really fun to ride. And again, just that riding position is really accommodating. 6 foot tall, 190 pound rider, and I fit really well on this bike. It's racy without it being too racy, and it's really good for both street riding on an aggressive stretch of road or just cruising around the highway like we are right now. Look at this thing, so tasty. All right, folks, enough talking about this thing. Let's hop back in the saddle and go for some more riding. Yeah!
Okay, folks, where were we? Yes, the global riding modes, which we can enable right here: rain, street, sport, custom 1, custom 2. So those global riding modes control the combined engine power and throttle mode maps, traction control, slide control, lift control, which is Yamaha speak for wheelie control, and the quick shifter and ABS programming and engine brake control. Right now we're going to ride in our custom setting. Custom setting is a setup that we went into this color TFT and adjusted while we were at a stop. You have to be at a stop to make those adjustments. Basically, with this custom 1 mode, we have max power, least amount of traction control, least amount of slide control, least amount of wheelie control, least amount of engine brake control, and the quick shifter on in its more aggressive quick shift format, which I don't know why you wouldn't have it like that. So still, it's really neat that you can tweak everything. This motorcycle does have a very advanced electronics package. That combined engine power and throttle mode maps lets this motorcycle go from mild to wild. So if you're a rider who's really comfortable with the dynamic of this power band, power mode number 1 is going to be for you. However, if you just bought this motorcycle and you're not familiar with it, put it in power mode 4, and you can graduate from high number to low number as you get more comfortable. Same with traction control. Level 9 is the most amount of traction control, number 1 is the least, so you can graduate as you feel more comfortable. Realistically, this engine doesn't really make enough power to really necessitate slide control, but it's still cool that Yamaha has it on there. Same with wheelie control. Of course, this motorcycle is capable of wheelies, but it really doesn't have a crazy amount of power where you really need wheelie control, or I'm sorry, lift control, says Yamaha, but still neat that this motorcycle has that electronics package. And it's all IMU powered, so the IMU chip basically gives this vehicle positional awareness in 3 axes: roll, yaw, and vertically lift. So really neat that this bike has this type of electronics. We also have the ability to pair this vehicle with our iOS or Android powered smartphone via Garmin Street Cross app and get turn-by-turn navigation right in the display. That's super slick. So wow, we still like wearing our Cardo Systems Pack Talk Edge and Pack Talk Pro headsets. Realistically, with that TFT display, you don't really have to just have Bluetooth communication. You can just see the turn-by-turn navigation right there on your screen, as long as your phone's paired with that and you have the Garmin Street Cross app open. Really, really nice. Now, we talked about this motorcycle has a 3.7 gallon fuel tank. We've been averaging 35.3 mpgs, nearly 36 mpgs. Not the best fuel mileage. Obviously, this engine is a hoot to ride, and we like to ride this thing full throttle. Obviously, we can't ride this vehicle full throttle right now. We only do that on a closed course. But as you can see, we ride a lot of closed course. If you're more mellow with the throttle application, you could get nearly 40 miles per gallon. But if you're going to ride this thing like it's meant to be ridden, it's going to drink some fuel. I wish the fuel tank was a little bit bigger, I'm not going to lie. But the small-ish fuel tank allows for a motorcycle that's really light, 430 pounds. With a full tank of gas, this motorcycle is certainly not the heaviest out there, nor the lightest, but it feels really nice on the road. It's decently agile. And this KYB suspension does a great job of providing good comfort on the road, yet good road handling in the corners. We have adjustable compression damping on the left fork leg and adjustable rebound damping on the right fork leg, and independent spring preload adjustment all atop the fork leg. It's also cool that the damping cartridge has both high and low speed circuits, so you can really dial in the action of the fork based on preference. Still, would have been nice if Yamaha engineers would have installed a front suspension system with independent compression damping cartridges on each fork leg. I like that. Those type of front suspensions that have independent compression and rebound damping, that gives just a little bit more accurate response. But they do this because it's lighter and less expensive. Either way, it works good, and we really can't complain about it. The shock features a linkage, a top mount linkage that mounts between the top of the swing arm and the frame, and we have remote spring preload adjustment. That's right, there's a knob right here that allows you to raise or lower the ride height of the vehicle just really easily. It's a really handy feature. Cool that Yamaha allows us to make spring preload adjustments without having to use any tools. We also have high and low speed compression on top of the shock body, and rebound damping at the bottom. A lot of adjustment. The adjustment range is pretty good adjustment range on this motorcycle. Really allows you to tailor the suspension setup to your riding style or environment. Again, this thing goes over the bumps really well for a sport bike. This thing doesn't ride that rough. It rides over the bumps with a good degree of plushness. It's still a sport bike, so it's not going to go over these bumps like a Harley Davidson Street Glide or Road Glide, but it's not going to rattle your teeth out too. This thing has really good compliance over bumps and still has a good degree of sport handling in the corners. Of course, this route, we don't get to ride the bikes like we normally ride them, but rest assured, this thing has good sport handling. Let's turn the cruise control on again, folks. Right there, cruise control on, 54 miles per hour. We are rolling. Life is good. Now, this vehicle employs triple disc hydraulic brakes from Brembo. We have beautiful jewelry like Brembo Stylimo radial mount calipers up front, and this nice radial pump master cylinder. The brakes in this motorcycle, they totally work good. Good response, good power. When you really start pushing it, they maybe fade a little bit, but realistically, you're reaching the upper end of the threshold of riding this bike, so if your front brake's fading a little bit, you should slow down because you're riding like a crazy person. Rear brake's nice and responsive. Rear calipers from Nissan, the rear masters from Brembo. We also like the ability to disable rear ABS. That's right, folks, you can disable rear ABS in the menu, so if you want to do slides, you can do that. There's also 2 levels of ABS. ABS level 1 is the least aggressive. ABS level 2 is the more aggressive. And with the ABS level 2, BC2, you have cornering ABS. Yamaha motor doesn't call it cornering ABS, but it is lean sensitive IV powered ABS. But that's only in level 2. Level 1, that's off. And the ABS programming works really well. You can ride this bike extremely hard without a lot of ABS intervention. It's quite amazing. Good job, Yamaha. We also have engine brake control, which allows for a little bit added fuel in the engine during deacceleration, reduces the back torque effect. We like generally riding this motorcycle with the least amount of engine brake control, but if you like it, you can add that in. Again, the switchgear on this motorcycle is nice and chunky, easy to use. A big upgrade from the previous switchgear package that we had bemoaned for years and years and years. Good job, Yamaha, listening to the rider and owner feedback and getting the switchgear down. Now, if it was only backlit, this switchgear would be totally awesome. Maybe it's because this motorcycle only retails for $12,500 only. That's still a fair chunk of change, but for $12,500, you get a pretty awesome little bike. 890cc engine, tons of torque, tons of character. Very advanced electronics package that's easy to use with the chunky switchgear. Handling's nice and lively, yet it's still comfortable over the bumps. Brakes are nice and strong, and jewelry like Brembo Stylema calipers. That's something you normally only see on big bikes. Gosh, I really like how this thing goes around corners. Really easy to ride. It likes a little bit of ride height. If you have it too low in the rear, it's a little bit sluggish steering. You can just crank that preload clockwise. That knob clockwise puts a little bit more weight on the front tire. And this thing livens right up.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a super fun ride on Yamaha's 2025 YZF-R9 midsize plus sport bike. This bike's really awesome. I just love the styling of this thing. This thing looks like an authentic Yamaha R bike, not some wimpy bike like the YZF-R7. And just that engine, the engine's super playful, fun to ride. Yeah, I wish it was faster. I'm not gonna lie, this isn't a replacement for a YZF-R6 in terms of visceral sport handling, but it really strikes a good balance between everyday street riding and more aggressive riding on the street or track. It's really nice. And having that electronics package that allows the bike go from mild to wild with the push of a button is really awesome. Love the standard cruise control and the ability to pair this vehicle with your iOS or Android powered smartphone and get turn-by-turn directions via the Garmin Street Cross apps. Super awesome. It's also really comfortable. 6 foot tall rider, 109 pounds, fit on this bike really well. And all in all, a really nice bike from Yamaha Motor for $12,500. Well, everyone, that wraps up our official MC Commute review on this 2025 YZF-R9 motorcycle. If you can't tell, we really like this bike. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for riding with us.